sorry.
Here we are off the track, continuing courtesy of Windsor Park Stud, our guest today, a man who's been in the industry, well, it seems all my life anyway, and was one Denny Baker. He's been married nearly 50 years. That in itself speaks volumes for you as a person. Listen, 2006, you had one of your greatest thrills in racing. Rags to Riches wins the Easter Handicap. And I got to say, it's a great name for a horse, not so much because of your life story and everything else, but the horse itself, Rags to Riches, because it was the sire, entrepreneur, came out of a raffle, and the mare that resulted the dam of Rags to Riches was bought for $350, not by you, but by someone else, out of a paper.
That's exactly right. And the reason he got named Rags to Riches is because of what you said, by an entrepreneur, and related to the story out of the paper, little old cheapo paper, like a Trade Me paper. And also, we were involved with Eamon Cleary, of whom had bought the property behind us and had wandered across. He heard that Mark had been in Ireland, and he came over, made himself known, and we got a sort of relationship going with him, and he wanted to get involved with the horse, and we said, well, we doing a bit of pinhooking. And so we bought him. He paid $22,000 for him.
As a weaner.
As a weanling.
So the people that bred him,
they got their $22,000.
They bought 3 tickets at $20, spent $60, got a service to entrepreneur.
That's right.
And bang, got out of a $350 mare, got $22,000 back as a winner. They're laughing.
That's right. It was a good little prize for a raffle, and basically they. I think he was probably the best entrepreneur there ever was, as it turned out. Yeah. He's still at home. We retired him. He'll live there forever. He's our first Group 1. We bought him as a weanling, and we took him to the sales. We weren't that clever because we only got offered 20 for him. And Eamon, being Eamon, I remember ringing him and saying, Eamon, listen, what do you want to do here? Oh, Denny, it's not enough money. And so that was it. We brought him home, and we made an arrangement where we'd break him in and get him trucking along, and then we'd send him off, and we sent him down to Ralph Manning, who is a very, very capable horseman, and we all know that, and a very good trainer, and does it because of the sheer love of it. And so he went there, and he won a couple of trials and what have you.
Couldn't sell him then, though?
Couldn't sell him. Well, Eamon was a bit more money. We would have taken the 50, 60, sounded pretty good. But anyway, the Rags to Riches story was also based around Eamon's life, because the entrepreneur was part, as you correctly said, and then the story about the mare. But Eamon had left school when he was a little boy, 11 years old, and helped his mum run the farm and so on in Ireland. And he is a Rags to Riches story. So that's part of the reason why he was named Rags to Riches.
I read an article, Mike Dillon said when you got up to take the award presentation, as hard a man as he thought you were, tougher man, you got quite emotional up there. And I understand why, because everything that had gone on with your sister came flooding back that day.
Well, it was the day of the race, actually, because she hadn't been very well, and I'd said, oh, I don't want to be doing this. This is silly, you know what I mean? We're going to win a big race one day and we'll get drunk, and a bit in the Kiwi vernacular, a bit in the pee. And she laughed. She hadn't laughed for a long, long time. She hadn't been very well at all. And of course, when he won, she'd already gone.
Yeah.
And
tragically taken her own life.
Well, she did, yes, and very publicly, which was sad. But it just came flooding back, and the memory of it all. And the great occasion, it was lovely. You know, Eamon was there. And
he also makes mention, Mike Dillon, in the article about kidney cancer. Was it cancer that you had?
Oh, yes. No, I consider myself very lucky in the sense that it's a bit morbid, Steve.
No, that's right. I'm just going with the article here. You know, kidney cancer, and of course your arm and everything else.
No. What it was, well, everyone has their little hiccups in life, and in this case, it was a case of I hadn't been feeling too well, bit headaches, and didn't think much about it. But I was very lucky. A weanling kicked me just above the knee, blew up. My leg blew up, and after 4 or 5 days, I couldn't get my boot off, so I thought I'd better go to the doctor, and so. The scan subsequently led to the fact that CT scan, and they found tumours growing out of my kidney, and that's where it all sort of began there. But I say I was lucky because if it hadn't have happened, they did subsequently say that within 6 weeks it would have ended up in other parts of my body. And
We
so we had a partial nephrectomy up here at Waikato Hospital and chopped out half a kidney. And
You're
here I
okay.
am.
You're
Yeah,
looking
good as
well.
good. Oh,
You're still
fit-
looking well. So that was a great day for you.
Fit as a flea.
Yeah, fit as a flea.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, let's move on because the Malcolms comes back. A guy, a neighbour had a Stella Dawn. Is that right?
Yes. Very good friend of ours, Lance Wallace, the Wallace family actually, from out at Wairinga, the other side of Te Wara. They'd always send an odd mare or something. They raced a couple of horses. They're very good dairy farmers, two brothers, Lance and Colin. And Lance came trucking down the drive one day and said he had this very good mare that he knew was very, very fast, but she had a bit of a temperament problem, and we sort of hummed and hawed, thought, do we really want to do this? But anyway, as it turned out, we looked it up, and we knew the family way back with the boss on that very farm. Went back to this mare Pebble, which was subsequently led to Casa, who was the dam of Sir Dawn. Dear old Casa, treasure hunt mare. She was on the farm when I was working for the boss. And also the full sister to Sir Dawn in Florverano. So Lance and I decided we would do this, and because we put it to Bletchencourt, and Miss Distinction was the result.
Right.
It didn't come out that all good really, because she ended up with an offset knee, and so we ended
Couldn't
up
sell her.
you couldn't offer her really.
Yeah.
You'd got hiding. So anyway, Lance is a great bloke to work with over those sort of things, and so we kept her, looked out. He took her out there for a bit, and then she came back to me, as I recall. Then we broke her in, and we leased her to our fellow that breeds with us now, Trevor Hurley, and his wife. And she only won one, and then they sent her home. She was too highly strung. She was a bit silly. And dear old Miss Distinction, she's the same to this day. You've got to amuse her, you've got to bring another mate up with her, but she's all worth it.
Yeah.
But we
it
had a
out.
choice whether... well, absolutely.
So what did you cover with?
Oh, well, she went to Spectacular Phantom, of course.
Yeah.
No, well, what happened was what are we going to do with it? We just bought the farm. Lance had just bought the rest of the dairy farm off his brother. He didn't need another horse out there, and I certainly didn't need one. So what we did, we talked to Trevor and Delma, and we said, look, we'll gift it to you, but the deal is you've got to come with us
To the
for
stallions.
2 or 3 years, and then toddle off. And if it ever comes right, and to Trevor Hurley's everlasting credit, he's never ever had any other reason for going anywhere else. It just wanted, albeit when he loaned it to McCarthy for G.I. Jane, which was that was all part of the deal. Anyway.
So the family did kick out, yeah. Karen?
Well, of course, Trevor and Delman bred Miss Jessie J.
She went to the sales.
Yes.
Hey, how big? You put a big reserve on her. I can't have been the auctioneer. $750. You couldn't even get $750
That's
for it.
exactly right. But there's one compliment to be paid here for the Sullivan family, how clever they are.
Well, they didn't buy it.
No, but Paul...
How clever are they?
Well, they are clever because Paul came back 2 or 3 times and he had a choice. He loved her. He liked her. And he said, I can't do it. He said, he wanted to do it, and he said he couldn't. And he said, I've got another option. He said, but he went for the other one. I don't know whatever happened to that. So Paul did like her. He knew she could move. She was a beautiful mover.
Yeah. So you went to Kevin Gray, didn't you?
She subsequently came home, and then Trevor and we broke her in at home.
Yeah.
She was always a lovely mover, just like a mother. And she went to Kevin Gray, Kevin did a great job with her. Because it's a family that can get pretty wound up.
And I've got to say, all of a sudden the page starts to fill up, doesn't it, the pedigree page? You know, Miss Jessie J, G.I. Jane.
G.I. Jane came out, won a railway. She was a very good mare. And you remember then there was Miss Catella.
Yeah.
Who was by
San
the commander.
Bernardino.
Dam of San Bernardino.
Yeah. He was by Gold Mine.
He was by Gold Mine.
Yeah.
It was
all related. See, what I love about this family has come around your stallions, and we'll talk about your stallions a little later. They were just bread and butter stallions, quite frank.
Oh, absolutely. That's all they were. They were horses that, you sort of thought on pedigree there'd be some merit, but things were... I was a wee bit slow on the uptake there. That's where you've got to mind these other men around. It's like Nelson, Schick and Patrick and the Chitticks and the good men that we've got in this country, the Fell Boys, Hanoi Farm, all very, very, very successful people. It's taken me a bit of a while to get up with the beat. But we were a bit stiff. I think if Golden Mine had perhaps had more of the Sir Tristram line, I really believe that there was some merit in that. because that's something royal and all that, was going too much in the pedigrees. Yes, and he was a very good horse. So the family really is, now we've got dear old Break of Dawn, who's a half Miss Distinction, now left a handy horse in Singapore called Iraqi Karaka.
Hey, listen, Katie Lee,
Yes.
you went with this one to pins, eh?
Yes.
Gee, I remember her as a yearling, strong-quartered filly.
Well, she was more deep in the girth than strong-quartered. She wasn't big, as in tall.
Yeah.
But it's the old story. The boss was right. You know, people make, and you've got to give Patrick credit there. I think people make a big mistake when they go to look at a horse. They go looking for a fault, whereas you should go to see if you like it first. And then if you need to feel, you need to look for faults. I remember...
It's easy to pick the faults, isn't
Well, Jimmy Gibbs, I remember buying John. I remember, like, he was play-footed, but Jimmy looked at the running horse, didn't he? That sort of thing, you know what I mean? Miss Jessie, Katie Lee, the reason we went to pins too was he was a good racehorse, of course, and I must say Mark felt there was a bit of merit there because we were paying the service fee. It was the arrangement we have, and the other thing is there's only one of Nasrallah through Spectacular Phantom, and Pins has got 2 or 3, and I know it would work with that family.
She made a bit of money in the ring. I mean, all of a sudden, and we're going to talk about the sale proceeds too, because they started going up. Gee, this is the 2,000 guineas, start of what was an outstanding week. The first and only time it's ever been done. That a filly, obviously, because she's the only one that can run them both, the 2,000 guineas, took out both in the week. And the Sir Patrick and Lady Hogan colours. Gee, she was lucky to get out, wasn't she, at the top of the straight? Bullish ride. Were you here this day? Or were you sitting at home?
No, we were watching at home. And
you thought, you beauty.
We did, yes, my word. Because she, when she won the 1,000 guineas too, she got a rocky run at the top of the straight. And then in this race, she didn't get it all her own way either. And but you see, that's the thing about it. It's a funny old family. They're a bit
That's right, because the 1,000 guineas came up first. Is that right?
Yes, the 1,000
guineas. 1,000 was guineas. So we're actually going around the wrong way. But there she is, back again in the field.
That's right.
And had to make her own luck.
Yeah, and look at this.
Out she came. Good field, this.
It's ironic how, you know, Patrick gave us that support early on, and then he happened to have bought one of us, which was almost a...
Well, she made 300 and something, was it?
300,000 plus, yeah. But she was well worth it. She's a beautiful filly.
And the family just continued to improve. The other one you bred, Oratorio. Now, there's this Banshee. There's a reason behind Oratorio, because it's what I say about your family, your life is interlinked with Oratorio with Vincent O'Brien. Is that right?
With Aidan O'Brien.
Aidan O'Brien,
Aidan O'Brien, yes. Aidan O'Brien was... when Lindy and I were there in 2006, I remember asking him if he had to name one horse that he had anything to do with, who was his one that, not a favourite, one that he admired or had respect for, whatever, and he just said, just off the top of his head, he said, Oratorio, didn't hesitate. And he made the point that he said we never ever saw the best of him. As it's turned out, he hasn't gone on with the job.
He's not been too bad. He's now based in South Africa. Avon Stud have got him.
That's right. Oh, he was a very good racehorse. And as Aidan O'Brien said, we never saw the best of him because he'd been injured or something went amiss. But but also in physical type, we've got a good mate, Merrick Staunton in Australia, who we all like the same sort of horse, physical type horse, and we've always had liked generous quarters and good behind the saddle. And
Liam Birchie loves him with the big backside.
That's the way.
Yeah, I reckon he'd gone out with my mother. I reckon he would have. Hey, Banshee won the Group 1. We're going to show you the Diamonds. Was it Diamond Stakes?
Yes.
The Diamond Stakes?
Yes, it was, yes.
Sam Kelt had bought her in the ring.
That's
that right?
Well, he saw her beforehand, and I remember him saying to Sarge, just buy her. And, yeah.
This is a heck of a season for you, this year.
Unbelievable. Well, I remember Nelson saying, coming down the stairs, I said, oh, you've been here before, Nelson, when he congratulated us. And he said, no, not many mares leave us Group 2, Group 1 winners in subsequent years.
Outstanding.
She's a grand little filly. Look at this, she just tries so hard.
Family's not big, but she can run, eh? They just got the heart room.
Well, there's the deep girth horses, and they've got that particular character about them which can be mistaken if you go the wrong way with them. You've got to look after them a little bit.
One thing I've noted over the years, Denny, and I think it's the Mark, your son's influence as well, and he's made a positive impact, is your development in the sales ring, from being top vendors at the festival sale to now you're topping the select sale and you're up there in the top 4 or 5, up in the top 10 certainly of averages at the premier sale. You've gone to another level.
Yes, well, it comes down to, I guess, with Mark's contribution is a massive, because he has got this real passion for the business, and of course with about all these good people he's been around about nutrition and nourishment and that sort of thing, and thrashing things out one way or another. He's had a very big impact on it and elevated. And of course, what we ended up doing too is making sure we take what we want to take horses to the sale that people are going to have success with. You've got to hope you make some money, of course, but more importantly, we want that buyer to have success
and come back.
And they, of course, naturally they'll come back. No, his input is being able to get his head around the nutritional thing. It's a total discipline, in as much as even our little bubbies that are born this year, they're already having a little bit of feed, not a lot, but they get it. And where he's lucky, well, I don't know whether lucky or whether he's been coached by good people over the years. He's extremely vigilant around development as they're going through the year.
Reflection on you and Hallmark, exactly. You talked about your relationship with Lynn for 49 years now. You've got staff that have been with you a lifetime too.
Yes, we have. Yes, there's Charlotte Hook. She's been with us for over 20 years. She's an absolute delight, Charlotte. She's a very kind girl, and she's like that around people, and she's like that with horses. And her brother Alan's been with us a long time. He's the same. They're not frightened to put in the hours, and that's what you have to do in this game to make it work. It's not about work though, Steve. It's about getting the job done.
Yeah, and passion for it too.
Have a passion for it and getting the job done right.
You got a passion too for something which people probably don't realise. Standardbred, amateur driving. Hey?
God.
You get right into that, don't you?
Yes,
despite the fact that Standardbred nearly curtailed your life, so to speak, you're into amateur driving.
Yeah, well, my dear old Pop Henry, he took me to the trots in Alexander Park when I was a little wee boy, and must have been in the early 50s. Must have been, just after the war. And I just the sound of their feet and all the rest of it. But I do it because it's something a little bit different, and always wanted the thrill of having a race, and I was always never going to be a jockey because I was too big and wouldn't be good enough anyway. I just like the excitement of it. So that's what I do.
I tell you, talking of excitement, we talked about your bread and butter stallions. I've got to tell you now, Super Easy, your new horse, the son of Darcy Brahma, I think he is the real deal. You've got to be excited, you and Mark, about the future with this horse.
We're very excited about him, and because the best part about it is it's all on merit. He's such a very, very good horse. He's a good-looking horse. He's got a temperament to go with it. Yes, very positive, and fantastic support from people all over New Zealand, which is great.
Well,
had him syndicated in 5 days, and that's he's a good horse, and we weren't silly about where we pitched his value.
I think you've pitched him perfectly. Well, Denny, you've been 40-odd years with us now. You've got as many years ahead of you, and I think the name Baker's going to carry on through Mark and hopefully his children as well. I want to thank you on behalf of everybody. Thank you for coming in and joining us, my friend. It's been great to learn about you.
It was a privilege to be here. Thank you very much, Steve.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the gentlemen of the industry, Denny Baker. That's been another Off the Track.
Off the Track was brought to you by Windsor Park Stud, your first choice for stallions.